This is the Office Manager Diaries, a podcast all about the highs and the lows of professionals in office management around the world. We'll delve into their career journeys and diaries, where they'll share their stories, tips for success, and things only office managers understand. Enjoy, and please remember to give us a follow. Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us for the Office Manager Diaries. I'm really excited to welcome you to the very first episode of this brand new podcast and our very first guest, Sarah James, who is People and Operations Manager at Savient Limited. Sarah, welcome to the Office Manager Diaries. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks very much for having me, Hannah. It's really excited to kind of share all the knowledge and information and some little insights to kind of be part of the podcast. So thanks for having me.
Pleasure. It's such a delight to have you. When I thought of creating the Office Manager Diaries, so we were playing with the idea for most of last year, but it was just so busy that I didn't have time to even, really do anything with it other than make some notes. And I thought, who should be our very first guest? And of course, particularly as winner of the Office Management Awards last year, it just made complete sense to invite you as our first guest. So yeah, it's my pleasure and I'm really pleased. And we've gotten to know each other really well, I think, over the last year since you did the course with us and obviously entered the awards, and you've become, I think, an integral part of our community as well. So I'm really excited about finding out much more about you and the history of you and your career within this office management space. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's like I say, having that relationship with you from the training courses, and you get to build up that relationship, both personal and on a friend level as well. It's really great to be able to share it and really privileged. So exciting times.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions around office management, but would love to hear so much more about you and your story and how you've got here in your career and your journey in general, as well as maybe some fun elements of the role and maybe some secrets to share. So firstly, can you tell me a little bit more about your role at Savient and how long you've been in this world of office management for?
Yeah, so I think with my kind of Savient role, it was 2 years in November that I joined the team. And I think it's always good to kind of go back to like the earlier days and how that's kind of evolved and how the roles very much changed. And I'm probably starting to show my age a little bit because it was back in 2000 when I entered the world of kind of work and trying to find a job. And back in the day of actually circling the adverts in newspapers and phoning up and seeing if the jobs were still vacant.
Yeah.
And I think it was quite clear that I'm quite an organised person. And when you try and look at all your skills, it's like, how can I take some of those skills that I'm really good at from people kind of skills, from communication, the things that I enjoy doing, and actually be able to make a career and a job out of that. And it actually also from like my mum's point of view as well. So my mum, when she was actually had me, she was very much kind of a personal assistant at a large law firm in Birmingham. And she loved that job, loved organising people. And I suppose some of that's kind of rubbed off on me as well. So unfortunately, she wasn't able to continue in that kind of career and actually became my sole carer for my brother who has cerebral palsy. So she kind of then dedicated and supported my brother Ryan. But then that kind of evolved really, and that kind of the caring, the nurturing kind of role, the support role, and being very organised as well, that definitely rubbed off on me. So when I kind of had that first, right, what am I going to do? I've left college, didn't get the results that I necessarily wanted to do. I always wanted to be a sports physiotherapist. That was that was the kind of probably had quite a lot to do with footballers and my kind of love of football. But then when I kind of like looked at that kind of the sports physiotherapist and sports psychologist around it, it was like I love those kind of roles and things. And I was like, didn't get the grades that I did to kind of go off to university. So I was like, right, what am I going to do now? And my very first job was as a sales administrator for a UV light company in Birmingham. And it was really different, and that really gave me a great insight. And I actually was there for 8 years. Very small company. Initially, we were actually working out of the managing director's flat on the Hagley Road in Birmingham.
Very small startup then.
It was. My office was actually in his living room because he lived in the flat as well. And it was great. There was only like 4 of us initially when I joined, and I learned a lot from how to kind of roll our sleeves up, get stuck into those jobs, and being able to turn our hand to everything. And as much as you have that kind of like the job descriptions and the job spec, it was very much you got involved with everything from answering the door, from, making the teas and coffees, but then also from the business side of things of actually supporting those roles and all the members of the team. So I love that. And after 8 years, I decided that it was time for me to leave because I wanted to start my family. And I just moved from Birmingham to Bromsgrove, and I'm still actually in Bromsgrove now as well. So that kind of the next role for me was to try and find something more part-time to fit in with kind of family life and being able to have that fine balance of working from home and being a mom, which
was much tougher years ago, wasn't it, as well? So
it was. And I think that I know we talk about it being like a woman's world, but it was almost seen it was like the woman's duty to kind of like look after the children and be that kind of homework or home person and things. But for me, I wanted to be able to work and still develop my career, but still be a mom as well. So I've done all the crazy running around with nursery drop-offs and logistics of where's my son Adam and where have I got to be for work, but then also being able to do the job and actually make sure that I was able to do what was expected of me in that role. And
you've still got your hand in your career then, haven't you? Rather
exactly.
Than what can be very challenging, which is to completely step away from something like a career, which you rightly said a while ago, it was a career choice for you through the influences of your mum, and then to try and 5 years time or whatever get back into it, it shouldn't be, but it can be a real challenge for women. So most end up doing what you've done and juggling too, but you maintain a degree of your own life then, don't you, as well?
Yeah. So that next job, it was actually working at Clearview Systems. And I always remember the interview, and basically I went to the interview as prepared and got this new suit on and everything, and went and met the customer services director and one of the other ladies in the team, and went through the interview. I thought, oh, this has gone really well, and came away, and it was kind of they said, oh yeah, we'd really like you to join. And I know that they'd had someone else that had been in for an interview previously that had actually taken all their shopping in. They'd been popped to Waitrose and been then in. I was like, oh, so I wasn't really against much of a candidate pool of people, but at the time they were only looking for 15 hours.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's fine, that works for me, and I can do kind of 3 hours a day. I think it probably took about 12 months and I was already full time. It was quite clear that as the business was growing, we then had small office space that we were renting within Droitwich, and we needed to actually move into larger office space. So that kind of like office move, those skills of office management. But at the time, it wasn't necessarily called that kind of office management role. I was still very much a office administrator.
Yeah.
And Clearview, very much 11 years I was there, and really evolved through the whole kind of growth of the organisation, very much the recruitment. At one point we were up to kind of 40 members of staff, and I was very much kind of organising and doing a lot of the office management tasks, but didn't have that recognition of the actual role I was doing. It was very much that office administration role. And it was the right time for me and with the business that I took the opportunity to join Agility Group. And that was my first role where I was actually an office manager for 3 businesses which sat within the group of companies, from a fleet company, from a training and health and safety provider company, and also there was a fire safety training company. And as well as that role of kind of office manager, I was also PA to the managing director. So literally I was wearing so many hats, but it was my time to actually, I can do this role, and to take that ownership of, I want to be an office manager and be able to support the business. So that was really, really good.
Like a defining moment for you where you realise this is you, and you've found what suits you and what, you know, gives you that satisfaction in your career.
Yeah, and I think it's awful to kind of put that around job titles and things, and it's like when you're searching for those new roles and those new job titles, it's like there's so many ranges of job titles, and it's so general being office manager, and we've seen that with all the members that we have as part of the office management group, and all different elements that you try and work towards your strengths and what uniqueness you can bring to those jobs. So it was a very general office manager, from making sure we got tea bags and coffees and the whole general office management side of things. But then I was invited to the senior management team meetings. So my input and the strategy and the support that the senior management valued my input into those discussions and those meetings, and managing the other members of the admin team within the company as well, and doing all the PA roles as well. So it was a very exciting and great opportunity for me. So it was completely, and I don't think you're ever kind of off duty as such.
No.
But I love that. I love being busy. I think there's nothing more than being so busy and manic. I'm sure my husband completely disagrees with me, because he kind of saw that other side of me, because as well as all with agility and busy role there, at that time I'd actually met my husband Paul, and with my 2 children and his 2 children, we've now got 4 children, a house, and we planned our wedding as well when I was working at Agility. So it was completely manic, but it was a great time, both personally and from kind of my career as well. So, as I won't mention it too much, as we all know, there was a pandemic that hit, and kind of this, what's going on here? And as well as kind of being involved with the office management group, I'm also quite involved with the West Midlands PA Forum. And Keith Townsend, Managing Director at Agility, put me forward for PA of the Year and Ambassador for Change, the awards that are run through them. And I was completely honoured and kind of blown away from being recognised for that. And I thought, well, do you know what? I must be doing a good job to kind of get that recognition, and encourage everyone to kind of do that and support and get that recognition for a job well done. And so I actually won the Ambassador for Change award.
I remember, because I was at the ceremony.
And that was the first time that we actually met, which was brilliant. And so from that, it kind of opened my eyes to the different opportunities that were out there. And I think we're always kind of looking to see how can we take those strengths. And as you know, I'm very passionate around corporate social responsibility, the culture, the employee journey. They're very much kind of the core of what I love doing, of being able to help and support, but also to get the recognition for the company. And I was kind of
comes back to that people element you were talking about right at the start of your career journey, right? And that connecting and engagement that you enjoy, being around people and having people skills. So
yeah, definitely. And that was very much, I was given this opportunity at Savient. At the same time, I was headhunted and actually had 2 other opportunities, which were like the safe route. You know, they were a PA role within a large business within Birmingham, and another similar role, kind of like an office management role. And I thought, I need to take a gamble, because we need to sometimes kind of take ourselves out of those comfort zones. And had a great conversation with Andrew Allardyce, who is the founder of Savient Limited. And it was an opportunity for me to define my role as well. At the time, I think I was the 11th person that joined the team, so relatively quite small, but that opportunity to kind of define my role, what were the strengths that I could actually bring to the team, and help them to kind of understand exactly what they needed from someone from an operation role. So from the kind of the company, it was very much an IT consultancy business with their consultants and software engineers, but didn't actually have the operational team to be able to support them to enable that growth to where we're like today at 32 employees and growing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's that's kind of brought me to kind of the role that I've got now with Savient.
Fab. So tell us a little bit more about the role that you're doing now there.
Yeah, so I love when we say kind of like all the quotes around we wear many hats, and I literally do. I think because it's a small company initially and we are growing, it's that you have to be able to get involved in everything and be able to help and support all areas of the business. So that is literally everything from all the office supplies, from making sure all the teas and coffees, making sure we've got milk on a Monday. So all of those kind of tasks and things just to make sure that the working environment, but then everything from recruiting to actually having those relationships with the recruitment agencies to then onboarding, so all the inductions, so everything that we need to cover from a HR, from health and safety points of view. And then that kind of journey then starts from their employee journey with the company, so that whole transition through the company, making sure that they've got all the induction meetings set up and that they've got everything that they need to be able to do their jobs. And it's then, as well as actually having the kind of the social aspect and the CSR strategy, which I'm so grateful that I've got that opportunity to still bring that passion and be able to deliver on the CSR strategy within Savient. And we've done some amazing things, and we've literally developed our outreach program. So we're working with a number of schools and with students that were able to actually talk about not only my role as kind of operations manager, but also all the technical roles to enthuse the students and our future generations to be able to come and get an interest in all the IT roles and things as well. So then there's kind of the social. So actually not just kind of organising them, but doing them. It's like, right, we need a quiz now, or we need to do an online quiz.
And being creative again, because these roles, I find you have to be a creator so much in an office management world, not just like you say with socials and events and different ways to bring people together culturally as well, but also in just the day-to-day things in the office and managing that office space. So yeah, do you find that quite challenging, that element of it, trying to come up with new ideas?
Yeah, and I think the team are great, and it's like, what would we like to do? And it's like, oh, we'll have a quiz, and we've done like online escape rooms, and we've even done kind of at Halloween we did pumpkin carving, and we've done online baking class, which I thought was actually a bit of a breakthrough, really, because it was predominantly software engineers and an IT kind of people don't necessarily want to kind of do some baking. And I said, oh, let's do an online baking class. And they all kind of went, oh, okay. But you know what? They all got involved. They all made perfect cupcakes and perfected their piping skills. But it was something different. I think that's what I've brought to the table, being actually that different approach, because not that I've necessarily got an IT background from software engineering, but it's that operational and the office management skills that are quite versatile and quite transferable skills that you can adapt to that environment. And that's what's quite key and quite exciting. But yeah, it's full on. It's full on and busy.
For sure. So we've talked about maybe being creative being a challenging aspect of the role, but what would you say is the most challenging aspect of your role where you are?
Actually, prior to kind of the pandemic, we were a company that already had a framework of working hybrid and actually having some office space within Cheltenham, but then also having home working, people working on client projects and client sites. So we have that kind of, people are all at different places and different times. And I think that was quite a difference to me. So with my previous role at Agility, we were very much in the office and people were working in the office most of the time. So you got to see people and you got to talk to them. And it's that challenge now of actually sometimes there can only be like 2 or 3 people in the office. And how do you make sure you've still got that connection and you're communicating and people have that inclusive feel to be part of the Savient team, that they're not just another number on the employee list. So we kind of, working with our technical director, with James, put together kind of the SharePoint internal intranet. So this is kind of our central hub. And I'm sure lots of organisations have got different things that they use, but that's what works best for us. It's great for me that we've got like a dedicated HR area, we've got a CSR area, we've got the marketing, and being able to kind of share information. It might even be kind of cost of living information, then making sure that, you know, there might be mental health awareness things about our employee assistance programme. But then also I do a bi-weekly newsletter with the team. So it's having those touch points and being able to make sure that everyone is connected and communicated with to get all the information that they need, and just implementing simple things that make a difference. So for example, on a Tuesday we have like a team update, and not everyone can attend because they might have other commitments with work. And I just do a little summary of whatever those little updates or notes are and share those on our general Slack channel as well, so that people can kind of pick up and do that. So I think we're moving in the right direction with communicating.
I think, you know, a lot of people will be in the same boat with you there, particularly in an office management role, where we've seen it in the office management community as well, that we've got with our members. You know, how do we get people back in? How do we keep people connected? Have been some of the most popular topics raised over the last couple of years, certainly throughout 2022. So yeah, I think you're not alone in that being one of the biggest challenges at the moment. So what, other than this people and culture element that you've spoken about already, is there anything else, or perhaps talk to us more about that you are passionate about within this remit of office and operations management, within this, you know, I hate summing it up as this, but people call it this administrative world that we're in, this executive support, business support world? And what gets you up in the morning? What drives you?
I love a list. You know, I'm not going to lie. I love a list, and there's nothing better than having that kind of your to-do list and actually crossing things off when you've actually achieved it. I am very kind of, I have got a little bit of OCD. I know I have, because it's that it overspills from kind of your home life, and you do bring it to the office. So, you know, we're the ones that are tidying up around the office because we're the ones that are spotting things, or spotting if something's out of place, or what's missing, or what's wrong with that. And we can react to that and be quite proactive in our approach to how we manage things. Being, you know, with our time management, that's really important. And I think skills that I can bring to the role to actually organising my time. And I can't remember who it was. Someone mentioned to me, we need to give the kind of impression that we're like an elegant swan that's quite just drifting quite elegantly on the lake.
I feel like that came up in the course, didn't it?
Course?
I've heard that before.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and
it was
our
in
legs,
the course that
our little
said,
flippers are going 10 to the dozen.
Yeah. So the passion in terms of being that person that keeps it together, that's observant and can use your skills, essentially, that's what keeps you motivated and gets you up.
Yeah, I like being that go-to person. I like to be that person that people can trust and can come to and kind of go, Sarah, this isn't quite right, or can you help me with this? And I suppose you're empathetic, aren't you, in this role? And you have to, you know, I'm a mom as well as, and so you have to be kind of sympathetic to people, and being able to help them the best you can, that you want them to be that person that they can confide in you if they need to, but also building that trust. I think trust is really important to have that relationship with everybody.
Particularly because you've got your HR hat on in this role as well, right? So, you know, a lot of office managers, particularly in the SME remit and different sectors, will have that as well. So yeah, that empathy is big. How do you ensure that you are empathic and that you are, you know, making sure that you maintain that go-to person persona?
I think it's listening as well. So actually listening to what people are saying and how you respond to that as well is really important. So I know that, you know, we haven't got magic wands. We can't kind of resolve everything, but being able to actually have that listening ear, being able to actually listen to people, and then being able to kind of potentially act on anything or implement things that wouldn't necessarily just help them, but also the whole company and everyone that kind of works for it. So kind of like examples, I know this is kind of like more top level, but like when someone was looking for like electric car vehicles, so actually being able to implement an EV scheme within the company. When we were doing some of our socials, it was like some people didn't want to join online but wanted to do in person, so it's making sure you've got something inclusive that everyone can kind of join. So I think that kind of listening and being empathetic as you possibly can, and then when they can see that you're actually acting on what they need or what they might need support from you, you're just building that trust and that relationship.
Absolutely. The foundation's there then, isn't it? I mean, it's challenging because you have to also have an understanding, surely, that you can't please and satisfy everybody. So like you've just said, the person who didn't want to do the online event wanted it in person. You know, there's going to be somebody who's opposite to that and doesn't want in person and only wants online. So getting that balance right must be really challenging as well in these roles. And we know it is, of course. So okay, so now is the part where we're going to do this every time we have a guest on the podcast, where we want you to share a true story, or as we've entitled it, you won't believe it, but ... So tell us, something that's perhaps happened to you in your office management career that's a true story, or a you won't believe it, but.
I think when I was actually working at Clearview Systems, I always like to be very organised, and as office managers we want to make sure we know when people are coming in, we know that if anything needs repairing and things, and what's happening. And I remember being quite aware that there was a really important client meeting going on in the boardroom on this particular day. But then my health and safety hat on, I knew that there was an issue with the lighting in our disabled access toilet. So we had a really good handy man that was kind of like would turn up at the drop of a hat and kind of come and resolve things for me. And so he was coming in, and I was like, that's fine. It's not going to take long, is it, to kind of change this light fitting? Well, he got into kind of a bit of strife and a bit of difficulty with trying to update these the lighting and units. So we'd got no electricity and lighting on the one half of the building. And while he was there was also an issue with the washer in the kitchen on the other side of the building. So he was kind of doing that as well. So the next thing, I've got no electricity on the one side of the building, I've got no water on the other side of the building, and I'm still unbeknown to what's happening in this kind of meeting upstairs. I was trying to make sure that was all smoothly happening. They got all their lunch and refreshments and everything that they needed. And it was just before lunchtime, and we had a apprentice that was actually working for us. And I think he'd been for a walk or something. And the next thing, he turned up into the my office with a dog. And he said, I've just been for a walk, he said, and I found this dog. And I was like, okay, so now the dog's in the downstairs meeting room with no collar and no identification. I've still got no electricity. I've still got no water on the other side of the building, knowing that like they're going to be wanting lunch upstairs. And I think it's just that trying to still give that perception that everything's fine and everything's in control, and it's still actually not gone quite to plan. But rest assured, we found the owners of the dog. He'd just escaped and had a bit of a run around, and the lighting was fixed, and the water was back on. But it's always that bit of manic thing that you kind of come across.
The firefighter, right? This firefighter where you just don't know what's going to hit you. And it's like you say, this swan analogy of gracefully, floating above the water whilst your feet are going 10 to the dozen. It is that back of house, everything's fine, front of house perception, and here we are, carry on. And then behind the scenes, it's just like the quick change scenario, manic, isn't it? So okay, well, I love that. Stray dog in the office is always a good one.
So we were talking this morning actually, because when you're coming back to the office, and lady I was on the call with, she's like, she said the office plants haven't survived. And I said, well, I said, we can't win them all. I said, we try and she's very much in an office management role like me. And she's like, I said, you can't win them all. And I'm terrible at plants. I just can't keep plants alive at all. And I used to be, every time that I used to have to look after the plants when I was working at Agility, I used to be like, oh, please don't let these things like wilter on my kind of watch. And I know when I went to work at Agility, I was like, we actually had someone that came in and serviced the plants and things. And I was like, oh, this is just music to my ears. It's like I have no responsibility.
Exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to maintain. I mean, I have many plants in my house now, and I've managed, even orchids, I've managed to keep alive after killing tens in my lifetime. But I would not want that responsibility in the office for sure. So, okay, so tell me now about some of your proudest moments, your wins and successes, and why they were your proudest moments.
For me, from kind of my career and my proudest moments, I think one of them has definitely got to be winning the West Midlands PA award for the Ambassador for Change, because that was very much for everything that I had achieved working at Agility around kind of CSR, being able to, we did all sorts, from helping out at homeless shelters to helping out at animal shelters, to doing bake sales, and very much embraced. And I was given that opportunity to very much implement that. So I was like, to actually win that award was a really proud moment for me, which was back in November 2021. And then I suppose I can't ignore it at all, winning Office Manager of the Year.
I mean, it would be rude not to, right?
It would completely rude not to. And yes, I did cry. It was an emotional that recognition. It was a room full of absolutely amazing office professionals, and I think for me, I was just absolutely so proud and chuffed at what I've achieved with the role within Savient, and seeing us grow and actually living and breathing that kind of the support role that I've done with the team. And there was just such support from everyone in the room as well. From Zara and Maria, and it was to have Paul there, to have Dan from the West Midlands PA Forum as well was there. It really was just such a proud moment. It was a difficult year for me personally last year, and it just felt that I'd completely been able to turn quite a negative point to a real positive. And that recognition with everybody that was there was really proud. And it's still something that I talk about. It's something that I'm really able to share with. I'm on a panel next week talking about mentoring, and it's very much about the Office Management Award, and winning the Office Manager of the Year was just really was the icing of the cake for 2022. So thank you.
Each time we release a new episode, I'll be sharing a top tip with you on how to be the effective office manager that you can be. This week's episode is going to be about how to make yourself visible. Going to things like networking events and socials, and doing inductions with your joiners, making sure that you're getting out into the office to do housekeeping checks on just how your office is running, what the state of it is, the cleanliness, the safety, and so on and so forth, being really visible as you do it. Going to see people in person rather than relying on technology to communicate with them, even if that does mean picking up the phone instead, because perhaps you can't go and see them in person because of this hybrid world that we're now in. But all of these things will help you to raise your profile. For me, networking outside of your business is really important too. And we have some great networks that you can tap into, both on the Office Management portal, at the Office Management Awards, and of course at our Office Management events here in the UK. And the reason for that is because you are often quite isolated in these roles, and therefore by creating and harnessing this network and building these relationships with your peers, you're going to have such a solid community to rely upon and lean on when you need it, for ideas, for inspiration, to pick you back up again, but also because it can be useful for your own career and for jobs and friendships and so much more. There is so much value in getting out and networking externally in whatever way makes you comfortable. Internally, it's really important to build those relationships and build that network as well, because the trust and respect that you need in your role to be seen and to be heard, so that people follow your directions and instructions, because we all know we have to give plenty of those out from time to time, but also to be the person that's trusted as that go-to master to support that business really effectively. So my tip this week is be visible, make yourself visible, create networks and build relationships, and become that awesome office manager. So we've talked about a high, and you can maybe share any other highs as well if there are any to share, but let's talk about some of the lows in your office management career. I know there's certain things that in my journey I have found really challenging, and there hasn't been a lot of support around it, because you're typically the only person in that company doing the role. No one else gets it. Your manager doesn't even know what you do. I've had to educate my managers in the past on what exactly I do, but as well as actually some specific tasks that just get my back up sometimes when I'm in these roles. How do what have the lows been for you, if there are any, and how do you overcome that?
Like you say, it's quite an isolated and quite a solo role within an organisation. So being able to have kind of the office management group and the Slack channel, honestly, sometimes I just find myself just looking through, if the sections around kind of, if only office managers know, or the little means are, it's like some of those are brilliant.
I can't think what it's called now either. It's like hashtag you're an office manager when, is it that
That's
one?
it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just need to think, I'm not the only one that's in this position, that's kind of, you're not suffering alone as such, and it's not that kind of massive suffering, but sometimes you just need to almost count to 10 and just like, right, let's just breathe, because you're getting all these requests that are coming in left, right and centre, and you're still trying to do a day job of kind of making sure that the office management, from HR, from recruitment, that you're still bringing people on board, and you're thinking there's only so many hours in the day, and how can you actually do all of that? Last year was my personal lowest moment. We had a real tragedy within the family with losing my uncle, and it hit me hard, and it was trying to almost, you put on this perception, really, you try and put on this bit of a front that you're okay and you're fine, and that's kind of our default reaction to things. And it was quite clear that I was still trying to do the day job, but yet I was suffering. And I was really grateful actually for the fact that I'd put in the employee assistance program into the company, that I could then get some support for me, but still giving that impression to everyone that worked at Savient that it had even happened, that it's still now, there's a number of people that don't know anything that had gone on. So still giving that professional person that I was still completely on top of my game with my job role. But I knew that it was important to make time for me. And I think that's sometimes what we forget about. And we are only human. And as much as all these kind of dramas that happen in the office, and things break and things go wrong, and I don't know, we've run out of milk or whatever it might be, they're all things that can be solved, and they can be done and dealt with quite quickly. But it's making sure that we look after ourselves, and that if we do need help, that we know that we can ask somebody and speak to someone, which is great. A big promoter of the office management group, because we can ask for that help of, how do I do this, or how do I tackle that, or can someone give me some advice,
or just a good old bitch.
Exactly. It's brilliant.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because like when you were talking now, I was thinking about how it is, that I'm a mum as well, and how it is to be a mum sometimes. And when you're not in a good mood, you know, because you've not had enough sleep or you've got pressure on at work, whatever it might be, and you let your child see that, and it changes their behavior because it rubs off, right? And I think it's very similar in an office environment where, you know, you're so visible, particularly when you are in the office, and particularly when you have staff in the office and you're getting around, like you say, if the milk's run out or the printer's broken down or whatever, you've got to get out there physically and be seen. And if you are doing that and you are in a foul mood and you're, you know, snapping and this kind of thing, it will rub off. And so it's very difficult being that person who is go-to and who quite literally sits at the heart of an organization to be emotive in a way that can have a negative impact, right? So that must have been very tough to do. But at the same time, there's part of me thinking, well, should you have just let that be seen? Because actually that's you, and that's the experience and the emotion that you're going through that time, and that could also have a positive impact in demonstrating that it's okay not to be okay, right? So it's very difficult.
Yeah, and I think difficult. Like, you know, just kind of, as you know, I'm a mum exactly like you, Hannah, and unfortunately my first marriage didn't work out, and so when I was actually still working at Clearview, I was a single mum with 2 children under 5, still trying to do a full-time job, trying to find a house. And, you know, there was times when I thought, what am I doing? You know, I'm trying to do that job at work and trying to be a mum at home and trying to, you know, almost find myself again. And, you know, Paul, who, like my husband now, is just absolutely amazing, and he's completely got my back 100%. And I couldn't do what I do in my job and in my role without his support. So it's that, like, logistics. Talk about managing calendars in the office. There's also actually managing calendars at home. It's like the 4 children, ranging from like 11 to 16, that have got sports clubs and birthday parties, and Mum, can you drop me off here, and can you pick me up at this time? And we've got great teamwork as our partnership and our relationship, as well as trying to run a house, and as well as actually being able to support the business, because Paul's actually a director at Savient as well. So it's manic, but great teamwork, and just that great actually being able to work with Paul is brilliant. But I've been there and done it, and got the t-shirt of very much struggling with trying to do everything with the kids.
It is really challenging. So let's talk now about any advice that you can give on how to be successful in these roles. What does successful office management look like to you?
Yeah, so I think I've kind of touched on it as we've been talking. It's those skills, and I think it's not a career, or it's not necessarily a role that you go in lightheartedly with. It's very much that you have a number of skills, and if those skills around kind of people management, around actually being kind of very organized, actually having respect with people and being proactive, and you like to be kind of proactive in all the tasks and things that you do, I think then you can actually really excel in the kind of role of as office manager. I think it's been very open with kind of job descriptions and job roles and things. It's like what's written on a piece of paper, and there's nothing worse than saying that's not in my job role, or that's not one of my, that's not an office manager. An office manager is someone that can turn their hand to anything. And I suppose we're probably our worst enemies of that. We don't actually say no. You know, we don't.
No.
we can't because it's that reflection of us, because we are representing the company, we are representing the office, and therefore we want to make sure that we do it right, we do it correctly, and it's the best impression that everybody gets of us as office managers, but also actually as the company and things as well. It's really important.
And one of the ones I liked earlier, you didn't, I don't think, say the word, but you were talking about how you need to see everything and then act on it, and that observancy that you know, I think what you were alluding to is really important as well. And that's not in terms of necessarily everything physical, but that's also seeing, like you were saying, how you connect people and how you understand and interpret people's needs, and that empathy there. There's a huge degree of observancy around all of that. So yeah, absolutely.
That kind of forward thinking, isn't it? It's very much,
it is.
We are like 2 steps ahead of everything, and we can try and, I know we can't see the future, it'd be great if we did, but just being able to
stray dog on the way in.
Exactly. But that kind of, that forward thinking, and just trying to think, right, okay, trying to make sure that the issue and the problems don't happen, and if they do, how do we actually react to those and things as well.
And respond and stop them happening again if we can. And there's so much to it. So where now, Sarah, do you see yourself in your career within the next few years? What is your ambition for the future?
As I've said, I've got very much a very diverse role within Savient, and probably almost too many things that sit within that kind of that role, and I can't keep doing all of it every single day kind of thing. And it's that, I suppose, I've got the opportunity for the areas that I am good at, that I can enhance and move forward with the company, that I can hopefully make my direction to be able to do that, but then making sure that we bring in the right people from the operational side of the business to be able to support the other areas and to fill those gaps as we continue to grow. So I think it's a really exciting time as we're growing as a company. We also need to make sure that we are covering all the areas of the business as well to do that. So it's going to be an exciting 5 years that are kind of coming up, and seeing that continuous growth, but that opportunity for me to also grow in the role as office manager, and being able to go forward with that and enhance everything as well, and building my network, building those opportunities very much on kind of the different networking opportunities, and doing more kind of talks and presentations to be able to share that knowledge, because I think we're people that like to share information and help people where we can, and I'm mentoring some people as well in their kind of role, and being able to share my knowledge with the corporate social responsibility things as well that I'm being able to do, and it's exciting times.
Good. Really pleased to hear it, and glad that you're getting the opportunity to grow and potentially split your role and carve out, the areas that you really enjoy, and get rid of the ones that perhaps you've had your time in and you're able to move on from, because that is a really nice way of stepping up and feeling like, it's difficult when you stay in a company unless there's growth to feel like sometimes you can progress and be promoted internally in these roles. So that's really great. You've got that opportunity coming up. So to summarize here, to finish on a really nice positive note, give me, one word or one sentence as to what you love about office management. Organisation. You love the organisation. Why is that? Tell us why.
I like to make sure that everything is exactly how it needs to be, and that you've got the correct processes, the correct
comes back to your OCD-ness, this,
doesn't
it?
And I think it is, isn't it? It's like we see it, it's like, when we walk into the office and there's all dirty mugs and there's cups and things, and I'm there picking them up and cleaning up after, and it's not that necessarily cleaning up after people, but it's that just spotting things and just being really organised. And that recognition, when people actually acknowledge and go, oh, thanks for doing that, or that was really good, or I really enjoyed that social event, and people get really involved and they want to kind of acknowledge that. And I think when I've done events, I know that it was previous, but we did the homeless shelter, and we helped out. We were cooking breakfast for them, and we were able to do that weekly for a number of weeks. And someone that I didn't necessarily talk to that often actually came to me and said, thanks ever so much for organising that and for making that opportunity for me to get involved. And it's those little takeaways, that kind of acknowledgement and that recognition that goes such a long way and makes you want to be able to kind of do that that again. So I gave you 2 words. I gave you
Motivates
the recognition and organisation.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, I am so happy that you were our very first guest on the Office Manager Diaries. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us. And I'm going to see you very soon, I think, in Birmingham, because we're coming up there. So yeah, can't wait for that. This episode is sponsored by the Office Management Portal, our free online membership platform aimed at connecting, supporting and empowering office managers in a simple to use, all-in-one self-service resource. You can sign up right now at www.theofficemanagementportal.com and click the sign up button in the top right. If you want to upgrade your account to our premium membership at any time for unlimited downloadable templates and monthly expert masterclasses, use the code THEOMD for 25% off. That's THEOMD for Office Manager Diaries for 25% off. Thank you for listening.